Welcome to Make Your Money Matter with Brad Barrett, the show that aims to change the way you think about wealth management. Brad is a financial advisor, established radio host, and author of Retire Right. He is a managing director and partner at One Capital Management, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm managing over $4 billion for clients across the nation. Brad and his team are dedicated to helping clients protect and preserve their assets so they can reach their investment and retirement goals. And now, your host of Make Your Money Matter, Brad Barrett.
Welcome in to Make Your Money Matter. I'm your host, Brad Barrett. Today on the show, we're going to talk about longevity. We're going to talk about specifically 3 steps to help you ensure that your money lasts in retirement. Friends, I think one of the main things that are happening nowadays is we are living longer, and we need to address that because if left unchecked, it can have serious erosion effects on your money. We're going to bring up 3 key ways that you can address that because ultimately, God willing, you want the same amount of years in retirement as you did working, don't you? So we want to make sure that your money follows suit. So take a listen today, but before we get started, make sure to go to our website at onecapital.com. You can click on our media tab and you can find out about our firm, but also download and subscribe to the Make Your Money Matter show. You can also download our podcast on Spotify or SoundCloud or the Apple iTunes app on your phone. And I always ask each week, leave us a message, leave us a review. It helps us share the message each and every week. And with that, let's get started. So as a matter of quick house cleaning, I mentioned this about 2 weeks ago. I apologize. These podcasts have been coming out a little sporadically. We are actually currently under construction for a new studio here at the office. So we're a little bit in between. So I do apologize, but I feel like we got the kinks worked out here so we can get on a consistent basis here while the studio is still being built. So I do appreciate all of your patience for those of you who listen to us each week. So let's talk about today's subject matter, right? Ensuring your money lasts. We are living longer, people in general are living longer because why? Life expectancy, medical advances, you name it, you can see how this is happening. And it's across the globe. And I think for all of us, just a quick aside, a very bipartisan statement, I think it's a great achievement. Whether there's other philosophical, ways to look at, but it's a great achievement for society. But the challenge is that, we cannot fund that extended time in retirement by and large. And here's what I mean by that. Most times people's plans and how we were typically raised to quote unquote have retirement dollars were run not on 30 plus years of years in retirement, but more like 20 plus years or 25 plus years in retirement. And those 5, 10, 15 extra years that we may be achieving nowadays has a big impact on your money. So I think really now we're trying to figure out how to make our money last so we don't run out of money. That's people's biggest fear. It's right there. It's the, neighbor, the cousin, the brother, the sister to the main question is, do I have enough money to retire? The other one is, will I not run out of money? Okay. And remember, we want to make sure we have left over so we don't run out of money before we run out of life. And I think that poses many issues for a lot of us individuals and society as a whole. Longer lives are putting many people at risk of outliving their money. So I think the biggest thing we talk about here when we talk about how to work this into a problem, I think it's interesting to look at some facts, right? The global population, age 65 or older, is expected to double from 10 to 20% by 2060. This is according to the November, not too long ago, maybe 6 months ago's U.S. Census Bureau article. This actually was titled, you can Google this, it's actually kind of a cool article. I stumbled upon it, but it's the article was called Global Population Estimates Vary by Trends Are Clear. I know that sounds like long. Just Google U.S. Census Bureau global age. So I think, retirees who are living longer and at risk of running out of money and straining retirement systems are, somewhat at a breaking point here. And it's not just us here in the United States, it's a worldwide problem. This issue is consequential enough that international leaders actually discussed it at the WEF, right? The World Economic Forum's annual meeting in Davos in January. It was a main topic there, right? The World Economic Forum also issued a new report to establish what they call longevity, right? Economy principles to establish a foundation for basically a financially resilient future. There are more than 35 organizations, including a large company that we all know, Allianz, which is mostly an insurance carrier, but they have committed support for the longevity economy principles. So, what are 3 ways that we can address this? And I'm going to attack this from a financial advisor's perspective of nearly 2 decades, something I do with all my clients. And it's not because it's an off-the-shelf system or something like that. It's because it's tried and true. And it seems like it's rinse and repeat, but it's because it works. So listen in here. The first one I want to bring up, the very first one, is creating a written plan. I cannot tell you, without even going into details, how important that is. It's no different than writing down a task list that you want to accomplish in a day or a week or a month. The other week, we were talking in our Bible study. There was a couple of people in the group that one of their issues was trust. And some of the things we were talking about there is, they get like a dopamine hit, like a high when they write down a task list and they cross it off the list. So much so, they would literally put like wake up on their list and then cross it off. So, a lot of us have those things and that's fine, but you can see why that can work because retirement, it's a significant life event. As I share with many of my clients, it's not a finish line how we are treating it. In our minds and what we tell our minds has a lot to do with how we're ultimately going to write a plan. If we tell ourselves it's a finish line and we believe that for 30 years, then we have this weird relationship with the next phase of life. It's almost like we're not prepared for it, right? Because you've been telling yourself it's a finish line, it's a finish line. What we really have to share with us, it's a ending of a chapter. It should be celebrated. It's deserved for all the loyalty, everything that goes on with it. It's very, very a proud moment and it's deserved, but it's not a finish line. It's an ending of a chapter because you have a whole other chapter ahead of you. And arguably, this is my whole point today, arguably, and God willing, the same amount of time you have on a work and on the job, you want to have in retirement. And so because it's such a significant event, you don't want to wing it. Long before you leave the job, you want to establish a written retirement strategy. And I would challenge you right now to ask yourself if you have one. My clients listening right now can answer that as a yes. Can you? And to create that plan, you have to find an advisor you can work with. You need to figure out things like expected expenses in retirement, take an inventory of your retirement savings, and take note of what you want your retirement years to look like. And you want that plan to recognize the possibility, friends, you're bringing it back to the subject matter today. You want the plan to recognize the possibility that you live in retirement for a long time, maybe even longer than what you would think your life expectancy is. Ultimately, a well-constructed retirement plan will help you achieve the retirement you want. It will also consider how you will draw upon your retirement assets for retirement income so that your hard-saved money lasts. It doesn't get eaten up by inflation and risk loss and drag in a portfolio if it's not managed correctly. So find that person, find that advisor to help you build that plan. That's number one. Number two, you have to figure out your withdrawal percentage, otherwise known as a distribution rate.
Stay connected. Get frequent updates on the show. Follow Brad Barrett and Make Your Money Matter on most social media platforms. And catch full episodes of Make Your Money Matter streaming now on our YouTube channel. To schedule your no-obligation appointment, go to onecapital.com or call 805-410-5454.
Many times when I'm talking with clients or potential clients, I talk about, the fact that a rate of return is what everyone loves to talk about. It's what the media focuses on, what's what all marketing efforts focus on. Rate of return, what'd you do, how'd you do, so on and so forth. Friends, it will always only be one half of the story. The other half of this story is understanding what your distribution rate is. Let me give you an example. Hypothetically, my deferred comp plan, my retirement plan, it did 10% last year. And you're sitting there like, well, my advisor only did 7 or 8%. And you're thinking, well, I must be doing something wrong or so on and so forth. But that 10% might be over and likely is over vested towards a market or towards a mutual fund or trying to outbeat a market, for example, and it turns on the other side when markets go down. And ultimately, if they don't follow the plan I'm putting in place here of writing a plan down, understanding your distribution rate, they might be making 10%. Mind you, it's in 1 year, which is only 1 year. But if they did, they might be spending 12, 13, 14%. So I would ask you, if you're making 10 and spending 12, isn't that a net loss of 2? Remember, it's not what you're making, it's what you're keeping. It's the same of taxes and it's the same of retirement income. You understand that, you will be successful. Figuring out your withdrawal percentage, your distribution rate is super important. And friends, it's really easy. It's actually the old school numerator over denominator equation. So right now, if you're listening to me having your cup of coffee, if you're on the road, don't do this, but maybe jot this down in your memory. And when you get to where you're going, write it down. Say, how much do I have in assets right now? And how much do I need to pull from that to be able to live comfortably how I want to in retirement? Now, as easy as I'm making that sound, it's actually much harder, right? Because right now you might have, let's say, 5 years left before you retire, and you're like, well, I have, X amount right now, but I don't know what that's going to be in 5 years. That's a solid question, something we can help you with, an advisor can help you with. The other side of it too is, well, I got pension, I got Social Security, I got rental income, I got other things coming in. That's my total income, and then I also need X amount. That's the actual number we're looking for that we need to pull from your assets. Those two divided by each other will give you a percentage. Now, just because you do that doesn't mean anything other than you can do some math. We need to put that into context, my favorite word, okay? Empirically speaking and statistically speaking, for a 25 plus year retirement, which factors into a lot of this longevity conversation today, you want to have a distribution rate somewhere around 5% and lower. That's our key. And there's a lot of ways to get there. So if you're thinking this right now and you're listening, you're like, gosh, I don't know these questions. I actually hadn't looked at that. I didn't even know that was a thing. That's when you want to reach out and find counsel. Everyone likes to focus on, oh, they're just an investment manager, you're paying them, so on and so forth. It's not worth it, da-da-da-da-da. You're getting way too myopically focused on one aspect, like one leg of this stool. Because your retirement focuses on planning, cash flow, taxes, and investments. I can name a few more, but those are the main four. So think about it. If you're asking yourself right now, oh, I've heard of you guys, or, I thought about hiring an advisor, but my buddy was telling me not to because I could do it myself, so on and so forth. You're only talking about one leg of that chair, the investment leg. That's 25%. The rest of it is making sure you know how to answer these questions. So make sure you do that for yourself. The third and final one I want to bring up is you want to prepare for uncertainties, right? Risks, the various ones to your financial future. This one's a tough one, but this is where it gets to an experienced advisor that can help you because they've been down this road before. My analogy I always use with clients in 19 years of being in the financial services industry, I liken it to a car ride together. Your car, your destination, you're the driver. You are just having me in the front seat to help you navigate those roads, giving you feedback. Hey, I've been down this road before. Here's what to consider. It's bumpy, it's longer, it's windy. You're like, I get kind of car sick. I don't want to go down that road. Okay, how about this one? That's breaking it down very simply what a financial advisor can do. And it has a lot to do with this number 3 of the various risks. We've seen them. Things that you might not have seen, we have seen. The potholes in the road, to my analogy, if you will. And a longer retirement, theoretically also means more risks to derail your retirement strategy. You might think you have this solid strategy going out the gate. And as everyone knows, the Mike Tyson statement, right? Everyone's got a plan to get punched in the face. This number 3 is the punches in the face. So once you have your baseline, retirement strategy, we want to build on contingencies for the various risks. All right. You can't plan for everything, but you can plan for anything. It's important to remember. Now, over the course of a long retirement, some things to consider, right, are changes in tax rates, inflation, market volatility. I mean, all of these, if left unchecked, can deplete your retirement savings. So it's really important that you consider this. That's why I put it in here. I mean, I really wanted to break things down simply, as you guys know who listen to me every week. I don't like going more than 4 or 5. I really like to keep it in like the 2 or 3, like really top suggestions for certain subject matters. This one had to be put in here because it is a total curveball and you have to have counsel, an advisor, to help you with this, right? You want to consider all the types of accounts, the way you're managing it from a tax perspective, from an inflation perspective, and a longevity perspective. Because the goal ultimately is for everybody is to set yourself up financially so that you can be in charge of your health, your wealth, and career through your golden years, whatever that may be. So if you're going to spend more years in retirement, if we agree with these stats and kind of how we're feeling in this new age we live in, you're going to want to what? You're going to want to enjoy it. As I say all the time, I always want my clients, my biggest goal is to make sure you live out of abundance and not scarcity. So making sure you focus on these 3 things to have longevity in your assets for retirement to help you answer two main questions. Do I have enough money to retire? And will I always have enough money in retirement? Those three things are creating a plan, a written plan. The second one is figuring out your distribution rate, or what you're going to need from your money, otherwise known as retirement income. And the third one is you got to plan for the uncertainties, the various risks to your financial future. And if you haven't done so, make sure you find someone to build that with, because I can promise you it is one of the most vital ways to create success with your money. I want to thank you for listening to the Make Your Money Matter show. As always, before acting on anything discussed today, speak with a financial advisor near you about your specific situation. And again, if you'd like our help, you can reach us at 805-409-8150. And until next week, always remember to make your money matter.
The information in this show is educational and general in nature and does not take into consideration a listener's personal circumstances. Therefore, it is not intended to be a substitute for specific individualized financial, legal, or tax advice. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a final decision.